morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to another edition of LATOKEN VCTV, where we get to treat another interesting topic and trending topic in the world today. My name is Nathaniel Oluwatomi Amida, and I'm moderating out of Lagos, Nigeria. And I have a wonderful panel in front of me that will be discussing this interesting topic we have today. And I want to urge everybody to stay tuned and be part of the show. And you can easily be part of the show by making comments across our social media. You can make comments on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, and also on LinkedIn. And we can read those comments live and give you feedback live to your questions. And so thank you for tuning in. And also, this is an opportunity to reach out to projects, entrepreneurs, startups. If you have an interesting project, be it in this topic or any other topic, you can reach out to the LATOKEN team, and we can help you pitch your project live here on VCTV, and you can get the exposure, the attention you like, and you can take it up from there. So today we'll be talking about a very interesting topic, and our audience, our panel will contribute to that. We'll be talking about investment in ConTech, PropTech, and real estate tech. Now, as I introduce my panels today, they will go into further definition of all these terminologies. And I think my panel, I'd like to start the introduction from Adrian. Adrian, can you give the audience your background, your experience, and what you're going to be contributing today?
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here. Lately, I joined different, I would say, different slots during the day. Last week I joined the Asian panel, so I believe today I'm joining the African panel, right?
It's a UK panel, the UK time. You're in UK time.
Yes, it's in UK time, but you are in Nigeria, so
oh yes, surely.
And Africa, and both Asia and Africa are very hot with cryptocurrency. And I said, even if the time zones are European, usually the slots I'm joining are later in the day. So I'm Adrian Niculescu. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. My genius zones are marketing, sales, and business development. And I love doing things in this area. Besides my advisory roles and membership board slots, I'm actively involved with few projects. Cloudcoin Consortium. Cloudcoin is a post-blockchain digital currency. Faster Capital, a Dubai-based accelerator and incubator for startups. Saga Global Ventures, which is a UK-based venture capital firm. And also I'm a mentor in Virgin Startups program in UK. Happy to be here and to contribute to this amazing subject today.
Awesome. Thank you for that brief introduction. And next, Maciek, will you give the audience an introduction about yourself, what you do, and your background?
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for the introduction. And my name is Maciej Plichta. I work at Colliers International currently. I'm a new technology solutions manager looking for tech startups in the PropTech, real estate, and ConTech space that we can implement within the Colliers clients and partners network. Before joining Colliers, I worked in the VC funds like Energy Innovation Hub and a few others before that, where we were looking for technology startups in the PropTech and ConTech space, among others. My role was to identify the most promising startups that we could invest into and help them grow by connecting with ecosystem players around the world. I'm also a mentor at the accelerator programs, both regionally in Poland, where I'm based at the moment, and also more internationally in global and European startup contests and accelerator programs.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Maciek, for that introduction. And we go straight into today's topic. I mean, while researching for this topic, I found out that there have been different cycles of in the real estate industry, and real estate tech has not played a critical factor in this industry until recently. I mean, tech is really catching on into almost every industry, and the real estate industry is really not left out. So today, Adrian, I'd like to start with you. I came up. There are three distinct subjects: PropTech, ConTech, and real estate tech. What is the difference? I mean, for the benefit of the audience, what's the difference, and how are they interrelated? Hello, Adrian. I'm going ahead with you.
Uh,
Did you hear me?
Sorry, there is a little bit delay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Ah, perfect. So after the financial industry, which is pretty disrupted these days, I believe that the next asset class which face a big disruption is real estate, and Maciek presence here as part of Colliers, which Colliers is a big group of real estate companies initially doing business the classical way, shows that even the big players are interested, and it's a very good thing that they are doing that in finding the next tech startups which will drive the disruption into this industry. I think that tokenization of real estate assets is a way both to raise funds and also to have rents paid this way, and the new way of looking at fractional ownership are coming, and it will be a massive wave ahead of us, and these are very exciting times for PropTech.
Awesome. Thanks for your insights. But can you go into further detail? Is there any difference between PropTech, ConTech, and real estate tech? Or are they just the same thing with different words?
Are you asking me?
Yes, Adrian. Yes, Adrian. I'm asking you.
Okay. My mindset regarding real estate is not the developer mindset. I have a 10 years experience as an agent selling and renting properties. I believe I did almost 300 real estate transactions over time, and the real estate ecosystem is big, and depending on the vertical, every vertical has to be approached in a different way. So I believe that there are different words at the end of the day speaking about the same subject, are different slang words being part of the same industry. If you ask me, the platforms which will be the most successful will integrate not just one vertical from the real estate industry, but will integrate more than one verticals. So those slang words at the end will address the same market. Of course, it's just a personal opinion.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And Maciek, I mean, what do you think about these slang words that Adrian has talked about? Do you think there's a distinct difference, or it's just different words for the same old thing in the same industry?
Yes, so thank you for the question. From my perspective, those are subjects that are very interdependent, and like Adrian mentioned, those create a coherent ecosystem of solutions relating to the real estate. However, if we want to dive deeper into these definitions, I could differentiate them based on the life cycle of a building that we are addressing. So if we are speaking about construction of a building and solutions that can support the construction phase, starting with vendor management systems or better measurements of the construction phase or the project management. Those might be a part of the ConTech space that we are speaking about. Next, if the building is already in use and we are speaking about property management and, for example, integrated platforms for property management, access control systems, parking control, HVAC, and so on, those might fall into the space of PropTech. And if we want to distinguish in the transactional sphere of the real estate business and transactions in the real estate assets phase, those might be described as a real estate tech. However, those will depend on who you are asking and what's the purpose of the definition. So I would agree that those are very interdependent and speak about the same ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Maciek. Thank you very much for your insights. I'm sure that's a point for the audience to put under their belts. So I'm going to go next to you, Adrian. I know that the sector, the real estate industry, has gone over a few changes in the past few years with the infusion of technology, with the pandemic over a lot of projects or companies that used to depend on real estate and now working remotely. Now, I want to ask you, going forward into looking into the future, what are the major skills or tools that any real estate person will want to equip themselves with to remain relevant for the future? You talked about being a salesman, and you talked about, and I researched that there are some project management tools and stuff like that. So, what exactly are the schools and are the skills and the tools that will be necessary to remain relevant going forward in this industry?
At least in theory, the sales of real estate assets are a contact game. So you need to meet the person or the parts. If you are an agent, let's say, you need to meet both parts in person. But um, the low end part of the real estate business is replaced a lot by artificial intelligence. And what happens, especially in United States, and will come in Europe and especially in Eastern Europe, is that when people want to sell a property, um, they will sell it to a company. So let's say you have a web portal having the listings, but also that web portal will make you an offer if you want to sell your property right away. So that portal will resell the property like an iBuyer or an iBroker to the end client. And most of the real estate agents who don't adapt, they will go out of business. And what kind of skills? First, most of the real estate agents, they are not tech savvy. They don't consider to understand and use the technology correctly as being a priority, and they will be left behind. And um, the agents who will not just survive but will thrive, they have to become centered on their own marketing. They have to learn copywriting, how to write persuasive copy. They need to learn how to use the apps properly. They need to learn marketing and sales, how these are done in 2021, not how they were done in the 90s. One of the franchises which has huge problem, and they try to find solutions, but uh, they can't find them, is Remax. Remax has huge problems because their model is obsolete. And now, let's say with 5% of the costs which are required for a Remax franchise, any real estate professional can have a thriving business. So you don't need a Remax franchise to do that, because the um, the level individual agents can play is very different than how it was like 5 years ago. And the new platforms, even the ones relying on blockchain or the new online platforms, they allow professionals, which are highly productive, to become like the owners of their business without relying on the systems promoted by the, I would say, old school franchises. Of course, I don't have anything against Remax. They still have a huge business, but if they don't adapt, they will have huge problems in the future. So learn marketing a lot, learn how to communicate in the social media world, and how to use the technology to leverage your efforts, because otherwise the influence you can get in real estate transactions is somehow at the level of your physical body power. You know, how many viewings can you do in one day? That's why it's very good to use virtual tours, to use webinars, to use tools like that, which are replacing until a certain level the physical interaction. But it needs a new mindset, new skills, and you need to unlearn a lot of, especially for the very experienced agents, you need to unlearn a lot of stuff and to learn very quickly new things. Otherwise, you will be left behind.
Thank you very much for that. Adrian, you mentioned a lot of interesting topics. Artificial intelligence is going to be useful in the coming years, VR and AR. And these are tools that help you view distant objects in almost real time, and you can see them much more graphically. And it's interesting to hear that these are skills that are also applicable in other industries like health tech and agri-tech and other sectors. Now, you believe that these technologies will be applicable right here in real estate, and it will be interesting to see how that plays out. Maciek, I mean, do you have any contributions into this? Do you see any other technologies becoming relevant, or what do you think that professionals have to do to equip themselves properly in the coming future?
Yes, I can see a lot of interest in sensoring technology, so deployment of IoT into the building, and there is definitely a need of creating a bridge between the physical and digital world in the built environment. So everything that connects to digitization of data that a building is creating, gathers, and next drawing insights based on those data. And in terms of vast amounts of data, we all know artificial intelligence, machine learning techniques might be the best solutions to really deal with it and draw actionable insights about how to, for example, optimize energy usage of a building. Another potential implementation of visual recognition and computer vision recognition technologies might be issue tracking and issue reporting, starting first at the construction phase, when we can have a picture taken and AI algorithm recognize where it is, how the current state of development is relates to the timeline and to the plan, and whether there are any issues with the construction. And the same goes for building operations, when a user can take a snapshot of the picture with his or her mobile phone, and then a computer vision algorithm can instantly recognize if it's a broken keyboard, a lamp that needs a bulb replacement, or any other issue related to the day-to-day operations of the building. So this comes down to both construction operational phase, and it all creates builds up the digital twin of a building, where data is gathered, and based on this data, users can make the proper decisions as for building operations.
Thank you very much, Maciek. I mean, this is all becoming much more futuristic in my own perspective. I mean, with the integration of IoT and relevant technologies, what you have is that buildings become smarter, construction becomes more smarter and predictive. So you are not just reacting to results, but you are proactive in the way you go about in construction, maintenance, and all that is there. And I mean,
If I may just add one thing here, Nathaniel, it's not only the smart building, it's not the end point. The end point, what I believe is will be the autonomous building, like we have the movement from tech-enabled or electric car into smart car, and autonomous car being the final point, or maybe even not final, but the next point in the development of this mean of transportation. The same can be said about buildings, where they will become more and more autonomous in the process. Buildings are gathered, how they interact with their tenants, property and facility managers, landlords. Building by creating digital twin can have a lot of operations automized in a way that support each stakeholder involved in the process.
awesome. I like that. And it's like I said, it's very, very futuristic. And I see that kind of the evolution, like you said, in the automobile industry, where we have smart cars now, buildings be able to predict when heat is low or um, when it's too high, depending on the weather and the seasons that we are in. I mean, it takes a lot of skills, engineering skills, programming skills to be able to fit into this. And I look forward to that coming in day-to-day life. But Adrian, I might be mistaken about this, but during my study, I found out that the Europe and Middle East and Africa were somewhat excluded from the advancement of ConTech, PropTech, and they are a little bit excluded from the advances compared to America, Australia, New Zealand, and such countries and regions. What do you think? Is this really the truth? Is this really the fact? Or are we seeing that growth in that sector?
The thing is that the areas you mentioned, some of them, not all of them, are a little bit behind with the banking side. Some of these regions are quote unquote unbanked, and uh, initially you could consider this a disadvantage, but this means that you have a greenfield opportunity to implement right away the newest technologies because everybody has a mobile phone. What you say regarding prop tech, it may be a thing because there was not a lot of focus in this area. And um, I see a very, because of course nobody will know how the offices will recover or not after the pandemic, because I'm seeing in some markets there are huge buildings, and the big tenants, they are subletting some of their surfaces because they can't go out from closed contracts. So I say they have a contract for 10 years, they can't terminate that contract because they have huge penalties, and they are subletting their I don't know, 20% of the space, or even up to 70% of the space.
That's very
I
strong
think
trend
that,
that we see in the office space. Sorry, interrupt. I just
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to
it's very
support
well that
the
you
data. Yeah.
interrupted it. Very well.
So that's a very
So
strong trend that we see among our clients and tenants as well in the European markets.
Okay,
mhm.
interesting.
Also the retail will, the retail will not disappear, will have to, will have to reshape itself, and it will be a combination between the digital experience and the physical experience, because when you go into a store and you know there is an entire science what kind of smell is in that store, to trigger some emotions, so to make you buy, to make you purchase. It's the same thing when you visit a property. It's called property staging. If you want to buy a house, this is a very interesting secret from this industry. You as an agent or a property owner, you have 10 seconds when somebody enters the property through smell to trigger like the home feeling or something like that, and
Yeah.
you need to have a smell of fresh coffee or fresh bread. So when somebody's coming, I feel like home. It's a lit. It's I don't know, secret from this industry. And I don't say that they are behind. Is that they were dealt in a different manner. And of course, I think in real estate and in uh, one of the big trends is the co-working, which I believe will thrive over the next year, so will not disappear. America was the leader in this market. Look at WeWork, of course, with a lot of problems they had, but still they remained uh, strong in the market. What is interesting for the markets, which didn't pass the whole stages of this curve, is that they can do something I'm calling is a mobile phone calling somewhere.
No, it's
Uh,
okay. It's okay.
in these markets, they can do quantum leaps, meaning that they can compress, let's say, 5 years of development into half a year or something like that, and it's a huge advantage for these. These are called like emerging markets, and um, everybody who's developing now can start to develop a green building, can start to take some special certifications for those building. Can be, as Maciek said, self-sustaining buildings. There are many things which can be adopted right away without waiting for years to pass the whole learning curve. In every step back, in every sit back, in every lack on investment, you have to look at, okay, which is the opportunity. The opportunity here is to advance pretty fast. And I can give you an example, which is from my country, from Romania. The mobile phone infrastructure in the internet, which was started from scratch, is, I believe, in top 10 in the world, the speed of the internet. And there
Yes.
are a lot more phones than the people in the country, because it wasn't any infrastructure. So it was a quantum leap from nothing to the latest technologies. And every country, every region should have this mindset of, okay, I want to adopt to put, let's say, the land registry on blockchain. I can do that just like that, without having a classical lending registry or things like that. You can do quantum leaps. This is a huge advantage. Anybody can do that. You say, okay, which is the latest technology I can implement right away, even if it's a mess right now? I can go straight to the newest technology. I can find a startup which can be from the other part of the world, but has the technology and can help me as a government to do that. It's done. It's very simple. And the costs of doing that are lower than ever before.
You are very right. You are very right, Adrian. And I think this is an opportunity, like you said, for a lot of emerging countries to take advantage of these emerging technologies and implement them to create more sustainable projects and more affordable projects. Later on, I'd like to pick your brain on where blockchain can take real estate to in the future. That is really not popular now, but I think you have some insights on that. But I'd like to go to Maciek right now. Maciek, I mean, your insights. I mean, do you concur with Adrian on how the emerging countries have to take advantage of these technologies to integrate, or they wait for the learning curve to before they can adopt all these technologies into their construction process?
Well, as for development of new technologies, there is a strong relationship between capital invested in the VC and the number of new startups. And here, obviously, we can see North America, the US, and China as being the top VC markets in terms of dollars invested globally. So it naturally implies that there might be more financing into all the sectors, including PropTech and ConTech, among others, in terms of VC development. However, I would not say that there is a rule which would imply that only those regions can develop interesting technologies and interesting companies. And I've seen a lot of great and very promising technologies being developed in the EMEA region, in countries such as Israel, Finland, Poland, the Netherlands, but also Germany, France, and the UK, so called the old economies as well. So these regions can all spark great initiatives and startups that have been successfully implemented not only in regional countries in Europe, but also already expanded to the US.
Thank you very much, Maciek. The reason why I mentioned the earlier question was that I know for certain that emerging countries have challenges when it comes to housing. For example, India, one of the largest countries in the world, with over 1 billion people, still has a challenge with when it comes to affordable housing. Now I believe that with all these technologies, it's easier at this stage to create a policy that will focus on sustainable development, affordable development that are also futuristic in terms of green tech and sustainability. But I mean, like you said, there is also still greater opportunity in all these developed regions, China, US, to also develop further autonomous technologies, IoTs, and the rest. But that's great to hear. Thank you very much, Maciek. So back to you, Adrian. Okay, just before I come back to you, I'd just like to welcome our audience again and remind them that this talk, we are talking about investments in PropTech, ConTech, and real estate tech. And this is an opportunity for them to jump in the call and ask questions related to this subject, and possibly get their feedback real time, because I get to see those questions and I can give open it to the floor and get feedback for them. Also, for startups that are into this space, into this PropTech space, they can choose a day to come up and pitch their project, whatever project. And we all know that it's not just PropTech. It could be autonomous tech, and different kind of technology that can be applicable in this industry. Come and pitch your projects on the LATOKEN platform and get the feedback and the exposure you are looking for. So back to you, Adrian. We're talking, I was telling you, I would like to pick your brain on how you see blockchain and real estate emerging in the future, and what are the prospects for this. Now, I'm asking you because I know that this sector will need a lot of, it has seen a lot of adoption of tools, project management tools, labor management, risk management tools. I need to understand how you see blockchain and what other softwares or technologies do you see improving this sector?
There is technology like blockchain, and also there are other technologies which are considered alternatives to blockchain or better than blockchain. Some of them are in early stage of development, but still blockchain is a 10 years old technology, so it's not something new. Is new its adoption into mainstream. This is something new. And you mentioned before with Maciej, if I said correctly, affordable housing. When you say affordable housing, this is connected to both the policy of a government and also to the wealth of inhabitants. And this is connected somehow with the crypto market, which allows, in theory and also in practice, regular people from around the world to access more opportunities regarding wealth building. So somehow these these are related. Both cryptocurrencies and the technologies used in the real estate ecosystem, they are connected with this big um, system of operation, I would call blockchain or other technologies. For example, I see many developers, they are using, it's not connected to blockchain. You ask about which software tools are used, they are using Salesforce. So especially in the Emirates, most of the developers, they are using Salesforce and nothing else. So they are managing the teams, the marketing, the partnership using Salesforce, and it's actually a good thing. Regarding how, let's say, rent is collected, especially in the residential areas, I see a lot of automations. So it's not like the landlord coming to your door and knocking and asking for the rent, as you see in the movies. There are the recurring payment systems doing the payments automatically, and this actually will allow less people to be involved because more human effort, it will be replaced by the technology. And actually, this is a good thing. And as mentioned, the people who will not adapt, they will be left behind. Real estate will not disappear. Anybody saying that is not is on the wrong foot. Even if people will work from home, not everybody will work from home, even if a lot of sales will be done through e-commerce, the malls will not disappear. Of course, some of them, uh, which don't have a concept, which are in the wrong areas, they will go bankrupt. But still the feeling of going and shopping will remain. But everything has to shift because the customer habits are shifting. you know the most successful companies and the technologies will be the ones which will figure out what the customer wants, and will offer to them exactly what they want, and will anticipate the needs. Because what happened during the pandemic, and this is something I've learned from the personal development industry, our brain actually went to the surviving stage, which is the default setting of that brain. That's why people went to find toilet paper. They bought essentials, nonsense essentials a lot, because they came to a crisis level, which is our default setup for our more than 2 million years old reptilian brain. So this triggered different ways of consuming, different ways of spending money. And because every business has a real estate side, even if it's, let's say, 100% virtual, still there are some servers somewhere which are hosted in a building or in a bunker under the ground. So there is some real estate anyhow. So these changing habits are creating a new phase of an old industry which is disrupted right away.
Thank you very much, Adrian. I think I got one major feedback from you, and that is real estate will not die. Real estate will evolve, and it will evolve in the direction of the needs of the customer or the consumer. And I think it is important for the survival of any real estate company to put that in mind in shaping their business models and things that they will need to adjust. Maciek, do you have any insights concerning this? I mean, in the coming years, in the near future, the direction software or technology will take in advancing real estate?
Yes, I can only agree that the customer centricity and the user experience will come up as one of the biggest trends in the coming future. And the pandemic situation has shown that clearly, especially in the office space, where employee does not need to come to the office anymore to have the work done. And we have seen for the last year that a lot of companies have switched into remote working model, and it's not sure whether and when and in which fraction employees will come back to the office. So I believe the hybrid working model is with us to stay, and as such the purpose of office will need to change, or we'll see repurposing of the office space so that they provide employees with their needs, with the relevant tools and solutions for the work to be done in the office, like brainstorming or networking or meeting with clients, whereas work requiring focus or individual work can be done at home. And having this into perspective, office space will need to be a place where employee wants to come, not needs to come. And every technology that makes office space user-centric and provides with the best possible solutions and support will become crucial for the landlords to have tenants and their employees use the working space. So this comes to the also topic of well-being of an employee, providing the proper environment conditions, but also caring for health and safety in the pandemic or post-pandemic environment, and also providing productivity tools like office management platforms or access controls that can also minimize touch points between employee and user of an office and the office itself.
Thank you very much, Maciek. And we are coming to the very end of today's session. Very interesting topic, even though it's rarely spoken about. And I'd like to pick your brain on your final thoughts and on this, Maciek. In 5 years, in 10 years' time, where do you think investments in real estate will flow? Will it flow more into residential or commercial? What are your thoughts? What are your insights about this industry in the coming decade?
Well, in terms of technology, I think the office space is first to really accelerate the investments, because like just mentioned before, landlords will need to have their buildings tech enabled, and this pandemic-related crisis is much different than the previous financial-oriented ones, as here health and safety, even lives of employees were on stake when fighting the pandemic, and people won't risk their health if they don't need to, and if they don't need to go to the office. So new technologies will support this trend and will be the first to set the goals in terms of investments. However, because workers tend to spend more and more time working remotely from home, I can already see vivid movements in this space as well, as we are looking for technologies that can support working from home or working from remote spaces in the hybrid model, where there is headquarter, home, and satellite locations, and employee can freely choose between those. But also technologies that support organization of the work-life balance in the situation where employee spends more and more time working remotely. So this will also require tech investments to provide the proper solutions for the end user.
Thank you very much, Maciek. Wonderful insights for anybody listening today. Investment is going to flow into hybrid environments. It's going to flow into environments that support remote working. So that means that homes will no longer be just homes, but there will be some construct around homes that will also support remote working. A studio, a small office or home office. And it will be interesting to see how that evolves over time. Adrian?
Maybe just one more before we move further away, just one more interesting trend and a challenge that we observe is not only hybrid working model, but also hybrid meetings, meaning when you've got 5, 10, 20 people sitting together in one conference room and the other 5, 10, 20 people dialing in via internet, it might prove a challenge to really make this communication productive and to really allow everyone to have seamless experience. Maybe VR and AR will prove an interesting solution in such a situation. We are there yet to see it.
Awesome. Awesome. I like the fact that the industry is looking at adopting most of these technologies, and going forward, the companies that adopt are the companies that survive. Adrian, your thoughts, your final thoughts as we prepare to close today's show. Investment in real estate, what do you think, and what's your insight in the next decade?
People realized, were forced to realize that they need also to have a business setup around their homes. A few years ago, people made fun of me because as an internet marketer, I did over the last 10 years a lot of work from home. And my home office is like in a corporation. I have two internet providers. So if one goes down, I have the others. And I have all the infrastructure which you can find in a regular office. So if something happens, if I can't go out, let's say for 30 days, it's okay. And uh, um, also realized how important it is to have, let's say, a house on the ground instead of a flat, because you have a little bit of flexibility. You don't need, if you don't, if you are, let's say, New York, if you have an office in Manhattan, you don't need necessarily to live there and to pay a huge rent if you are not buying. You can live in the outskirts or even in another city and work online. So there will be many suburbs to be developed, which some of them either are not existent today, or they are still in its infancy, because this hybrid way of working proved to be sustainable. As said, once the huge companies will be able to get out of the close contracts they have right now, costing them millions. By the way, they should, most of them, they should fire their lawyers, because they allowed them to sign such contracts. But of course, when they did that, the developers were the dominant force. They say, okay, we have these buildings, we have a queue of customers, this is the contract, take it, Lord, leave it, closed for 10 years, and that's it. Now the balance has shifted into another direction. So I see, besides the reshaping of commercial and office, a huge development in residential. And as Maciek said, with let's say in residential areas, also to be very close to home, co-working facilities, so you can do like everything around your house, but saving a lot of time. For example, in Romania, I believe is in top 5, I believe, in the world, how much time people are losing in traffic. No. So instead of staying in a car and listen to a radio or something, you can stay at home with your kids. You can invest that time into work. At the end of the day, everybody's happy and the company has low cost. It's a new paradigm, and worth investigating how it will work out.
Thank you very much, Adrian. It's clear to me from both Adrian and Maciek that there's going to be massive shifts in this industry. And the shift will depend on the consumers and how developers react quickly to the needs of the consumers. And it will be interesting to see how this trend even develops as the months and the years go by. Post pandemic, there will be a lot of changes, a lot of adjustments. Will companies return to work or maintain the status quo of remote work? It will all depend. Time will tell. And obviously, time will tell if we have this topic to discuss once again in the future, and then we will revisit some of these trends and evolving happenings. Thank you very much, Adrian. Thank you very much, Maciek, and thank you all the audience that viewed our show today. Remember that you can go back to our social media channels, to YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and you can go back to Facebook to rewatch this, share this with your friends and your colleagues, and then make it a day to visit us later on today as we host another session on LATOKEN VCTV. Adrian, Maciek, thank you, and I look
Thank
forward
you.
to hosting you very soon.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good
Yeah.
day.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.